Oh, yeah, we're not going to play that again. Hey, I forgot to unloop it. We're not going to play that again. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you coming in here on a Monday evening instead of a Saturday evening. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I was not feeling well, and I just needed to take a couple of days to make sure that I bounce back and be able to give this fantastic guest and topic 100% of my attention because it is going to be one of those conversations, y'all. All right, so whether you are out there if you're a Twitcher, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, on the Inequality Facebook page, welcome to the Inequality Podcast. I'm your host, and I want to say thank you for taking the time out today to join in. Please keep in mind, if you are on Twitch, all of the documents and videos, should I say websites and videos, you will find in the chat. It's just going to be scrolling up as we are in our conversation. So if there's anything that looks interesting to you that you want to click on, go ahead and do that. You can also follow me for all kind of places in the chat if you're over here in Twitch. If you're not on Twitch, if you're in our Facebook group, or if you're on YouTube, all of the information that I am giving you today will be in the comments. In the description. Not only will what I use on the show today be in the description, but everything that I have used to research all the topics and conversations and people are in there as well. And the documents that I'm using today are also in the description if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, then just go to the Facebook page and you can access all that stuff. But you know how I do it. All the interesting and good stuff is going to be right there in the chat for you. So if you are in the chat, please highlight any comments or questions that you may have for our guests. We'll be sure to take breaks and address them all. Please engage with one another. Respectfully, please have fun, chat amongst yourselves, even if you don't have anything that you want to say specifically to the guest, or if you don't have any questions, please don't hesitate to just engage. All right, so the first thing I want you to do in the audience, if whoever is here, if you're out there, let me know, how much do you know about the Black Panther Party? Our conversation today is about gangland and community. And Black Panther Party, I think, was one of those times in our history where the attempt was done right, where things were done right. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, bridging with the past and the present. Anyways, just put that in the chat. How much do you know about the Black Panther Party? All right. Again, we are in equality. So please like, share, follow, whatever it is that you do, and wherever you are, please do all of that for me. I would really, really appreciate it. All right. So again, I'm Twana. Twana's Twitch here in Twitch. And this is the Inequality Podcast, where we aim to be that space between inequality. The mission is to provide the space to learn, grow, shift our perspectives, share ideas, and challenge social norms in a positive way. We will work to move from having the conversation to effective action, disrupting the complacency we have towards inequality in the richest country in the world. Every subject will be approached with an open mind and the chance to see things in a different light, and hopefully do the same for the audience. Being in this space means that we will advocate for people to have equal opportunities, to improve their lives. We begin to help others to remove their blinders while we're also removing ours. We need to see each other. We need to see other people, appreciate their perspective and their journey. My wish is that we will all recognize that everyone wants and deserves the same things in life. Be a valuable contributor to our communities, live in safe neighborhoods, free of crime, thriving, not just surviving. We also want to be sure to connect the present with the past, as we are in the midst of a historical backlash on our history, while looking at what the future looks like and how we can make a lasting impact. If you've watched or listened to any of this year's episodes, you know that we're dedicating this year to celebrating Black history. But this is the third show of Black History Month, and I have a great guest joining us today. Inequality is happy to have Tyrone Terrill back with us to talk more about Black on Black crime. We'll talk about the history of policing in Black neighborhoods and the current state of criminal justice for Black Americans. We'll also celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. I know it's not his birthday, but it is Black History Month, and it's also one of our guests' favorite people. So I definitely wanted to make sure that we talked about something that he has a passion about talking about. And then we're going to also talk about the Million Man March. We're going to weave all of that into this conversation of gangland and community. And so again, my special guest is Tyrone. Tyrone, give me one more minute. I just want to read this fantastic bio before I bring you into the conversation. Mr. Terrill has been involved in the intervention and prevention of individual, group, and gang violence in the community since 1990, when he worked with Brother Spike Moss to create United for Peace, to bring together the 9 gang leaders to work towards peace in Minneapolis and St. Paul. United for Peace led to the creation of gang summits in Chicago, Los Angeles, Kansas City, Washington, D.C., Cleveland, and St. Paul, with gang leaders from across America coming to each city in the name of peace. St. Paul Gang Summit led to the birth of the Million Man March on October 16th, 1995, when over 2 million strong Black men came to Washington, D.C. in partnership with Minister Louis Farrakhan for the Holy Day of Atonement. Tyrone, the managing director of the Project Safe Neighborhoods, PSN, a gang violence intervention program that works in partnership with the community, law enforcement, and the courts to work with young men and young women involved in violent crime. PSN, with our advisory council and 2 case managers, work with over 25 young men and women who have been involved in shootings, have been shot, or who are involved in other violent crimes in the community. So there is so much more that I could read about Mr. Terrill, but we're gonna stop reading and we're just gonna talk to you. Hello, my friends. How are you today?
I'm good, my sister. How you doing today?
I am fantastic.
Well,
Hey,
you
what was the
sound a
best?
lot better. You sound a lot better than you did on Saturday.
It's amazing what sleep will do. I
Yeah.
have that kind of body that if I lose sleep, it's really quick for me to just get a cold and then I'm down and out. But if as long as I get that sleep, I'm good. I'm good. That's what I did yesterday. So thank you for giving me the extra day.
Oh no, it worked. It worked out perfectly for me. It was a crazy weekend, so
It was.
I
Well, it was, I forgot that it was NBA All-Star week. And, maybe some people don't care about that, but I know most people in my life do.
I do. But my godson was actually in the dunk contest, um, and he did not do well. Did not do well.
He
But
didn't do well.
no, he did not. I told him I was extremely disappointed. Um,
Well,
um,
I've taken a break from sports. And so I did not watch any of the NBA festivities. I have not watched the Super Bowl yet. I recorded it so I can go back and watch Rihanna, but I haven't done that yet.
well, I did watch the Super Bowl as a Kansas City, and the hometown team won. And so that was good for me. But I didn't watch any of the NBA stuff. The All Star game has become a carnival at best.
At best.
At best.
Well, then tell me what the best part about your week was. Crazy week as it was last week. We're usually doing this on a Saturday. It's Monday, I know, so we haven't done anything yet this week. But what was the best thing about your week last week?
Against my better judgment, I took 4 young men to the Ordway for a play called The Soldier's Story. That's a Black play about men in the military. And my biggest concern was it was their first play ever. And these are young men who had already 15, 16 or have gun and car theft cases. And they loved it. They actually begged me to take them again.
Okay, what did you go see? Tell me again.
A movie called The Soldier's Play.
The Soldier. Okay.
Blair Underwood starred in it originally.
Yes.
In the movie, but about 10 black soldiers and a white captain, and the one guy ends up getting killed. The sergeant gets murdered, and that's kind of the whole plot. But for my guys to go to dinner and then go to the play, and really, they never experienced anything like that. And tip my hat to one of my community navigators who was raised in the theater and was really into plays. And he's the one that kind of put it on the table and said, "Can we take the boys?" And we picked 4 to go, and they were absolutely amazing. So that was the best part. Best part of my week was that.
Yay. You don't have an Instagram page, do you?
I do. I just don't check it. I don't check any of them really. I'm thinking about getting rid of all of them. The great thing about them is they let you know when something good happens in the community, something bad. Certain people's birthdays I would have never known about, or
Yeah.
the funeral, or a celebration. So those are the good things about it. But the rest of it, I have no interest in.
Well, see, we would have, us fans and followers of what you do, we would have loved to see pictures of you and the 4 young men as you were going to the Ordway. See, that's what it's for.
Well, because they're minors in the court system, you can't take pictures of them.
Oh, well, see, there you go. There's always a reason.
Can't give you their names, can't give you their age.
My bad.
No, that's okay. No, it's you try to protect them as long as you can. There's still the amazing thing for all these young men is the lack of a male person in their life. One of the boys told me I'm the first man that's been 11 months in his life.
Wow. 11 months?
Only 11 months.
Only 11 months.
Right. And he wanted to know why.
Wow.
He said, I'm not your son. And so, and I told you, you're not my biological son. No, you're not. But you are my son. And Brother Spike, and you know Brother Spike well, has said numerous times, if men stand up, little boys will sit down. And so till the black men across America decide to stand up, take their rightful place as a king in their community, in their family, and doesn't mean domineering and those kind of things, but being a man.
Right.
And not just to your child. You can be a man to anybody's child. You can only be a father. You can only be a father to yours. But you can be a man. And not only important for young men, but it's equally, if not more important for a young woman, because the man that she sees in her household is the man she's going to strive to be with.
Absolutely.
And if you're an abusive man, then she'll be okay with that because that's the way her mama got treated. But if you're a good man, there's a song, and I can't think of the name of it, but it talks about the man with the big old grin who took my mama in.
Right.
And it talks about her having 7 children. And he took them all in and married his mama. And
that's a song?
Color Him Father.
Color Him Father.
Color
right,
Him
I
Father.
gotta look for that.
Is a song about a man taking in a woman and her 7 children. And the singer sings then about he colored him father.
Wow.
The man with the big old grin.
I love that name. Color Me Father.
Right.
Hey, welcome in, Black Fist 86. What's good? What's good? Everything's hunky-dory over here. Ooh, I said hunky.
I heard you.
I can't tell you how long it's been since I've said that. Hunky-dory. I don't know. You brought that out of me, Black Fist 86. I don't know what happened. But welcome in. Have a seat. Get comfortable. And it's so funny, Tyrone, we're going to talk about all of that today during our conversation. So I hope you got your coffee or your tea or whatever you're drinking on.
Water.
Awesome. Because we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today.
Look forward to it.
I know. So, I read a lot about you here as we got started, but maybe I can get you to just tell us a little bit about some personal stuff that you wouldn't mind sharing with us, where you grew up, how you ended up in Minnesota, all of that good stuff. Well,
Well, I'm originally from Missouri, Kansas City kid, and got to Minnesota way of basketball as a Gopher basketball recruit, and ended up staying here and after school and came in directly involved in the community. And I was playing in a little all-star game over at the Jimmy Lee Rec Center that you're very familiar with, and met a man named Bill Wilson, who was then the Commissioner of Human Rights. And he asked me what I was getting ready to do. And I said, well, I'm headed to Belgium in 3 weeks for a 6-month pro contract over there. And I asked him, I said, what do you do? I said, you don't play basketball, that's for sure. And so, and he said, I'm the Commissioner of Human Rights. And I said, come on, dude, what do you really do? And he showed me his card and his little ID and badge. And I said to him, man, I would love to work for you. Because I had made a commitment to Dr. King when I was 12 that I was going to someday do his work, and that his life, that he did give his life for us and for America. And he said, well, I have a job open that you can have. And I said, well, how much? And he said, $18,500. I said, I'm getting $250,000 to go to Belgium for 6 months with a free car and a free apartment. But I said, you know what, sir? I'll take it. And to my mom, who's from Montgomery, Alabama, hated it because she felt that civil rights, human rights workers got killed. And
Right.
she said, son, I've already spent that $250,000. And so I've already decided what I was going to buy.
Right. You disappointed your mom, Tyrone? I didn't know that part of the story.
And but it turned out well. We made up for the 250. We made up for it. But it was the right decision. I didn't want to go to Belgium anyway. Didn't know anybody. It was not a very diverse country at all.
Yeah.
And so Bill took me under his wing, and from compliance officer to director of compliance to Minneapolis civil rights director to St. Paul human rights director. So I made the right decision. And, I grew up in an era, and you can probably remember this a little bit, that every Black home had a picture of Dr. King, at that time, President Kennedy, and Jesus Christ. I don't care if you went from LA to
Right.
small town, as James Brown would say, he's from LA, which he meant Lower Alabama. If you're from Lower Alabama or New York City or from Minneapolis, that you knew who Martin Luther King was. And then for some reason, more of our people had a picture of John F. Kennedy in their home than we did President Obama. And so I maintain that every home, even today, should have a picture of Martin Luther King in it, if not one. And my kids say I have more pictures of Dr. King than I do them, which is true. It's in every room. It's mandatory in my house.
I'm gonna have to find one that's suitable for my new place. I don't have one.
Maybe I'll help you out.
That'd be great.
He's the greatest American ever. And he died to make America better. Yeah. And often when I say he died for nothing, because this country is just as racist. It's not direct, in your face nigger kind of stuff, but it's stuff that's just as harmful to a people. In Minnesota, for example, the white income is $68,000 a year on average.
Yes.
Black is $28,000. The only state that's worse than Mississippi in this country for Black people is Minnesota.
It is. I was very surprised to see that. Well, I don't know why I was surprised. I just expected it would be another state, but Minnesota, it's Minnesota.
They do it like when people ask me all the time in Islam about something being halal, right? Well, the important thing is how you kill the animal, right? Is the animal can't be tense, because a tense animal means the muscle and the meat will be tough. So you have the children You have the children play with the animal, make the animal feel real good, and then you kill it
Wow.
because he's happy. And
Never heard that.
so they kind of treat us like we're halal. They smile at us, make us feel real good as a people, and then they slaughter us. Not sometimes physically killing us,
Right. Right.
but sometimes a mental death, a cultural death, a political death is just as harmful. And we're locked in that vicious cycle um, in this country.
We are.
Um, we had in 1890, we had about 1% of the nation's wealth, right?
Right.
In 2023, we have 1%. And so things are fluid and move around more. And we look at our great athletes and people making, but that's a small percentage of people
It is.
that make that money. Even in football, um, the Patrick Mahomes and the great players, Tom Brady, but there are still guys, and it's not changed, but some guys are making $500,000,
Right.
play for 2 years. After taxes, they take home about 200,000,
Yep.
250. And they pay an agent. And so, and it's still great money, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But not everybody in the league is LeBron James and the Patrick Mahomes and the one that we see. Or
Yeah.
every actor is not Denzel, where you get a guaranteed $25-30 million per movie.
Yeah. And
And
no one,
so
everyone can't be Beyonce.
everybody
I
can't
still don't
be
know how much she's charging for her tickets.
right. And so when we look at things how they are today, um, and you've heard me say this before, and I will maintain this, and nobody's ever proved me different yet, that the two worst things that happen to Black Americans is Brown versus Board of Education. When we stop educating our own children, when we said to white people, educate us, take our children and educate them.
Yeah.
And then it was the Civil Rights Act of 1964
Yeah.
that, as
Lulled us all into a false sense of security, I'd like to say.
well, we got involved, we became integrationists. We became folks who wanted to be part of integration. And
Excuse me.
I will never say anything disparaging against Dr. King. You know that. There's nothing, but Dr. King and the architects of the civil rights movement were actually wrong because they never took into consideration, or maybe they did, but the economic impact of integration,
Yeah.
the
And I
social,
think
the social impact, the political impact, the academic impact. And not only that, um, I read somewhere recently that the least woman in America to be married is the Black woman at 28%. Almost so one out of four Black women get married.
right.
One out of four.
Right.
And there's nothing more precious to our community than the Black woman. The Black woman is the birth of civilization.
Yes, we are.
And Brother Spike says it all the time. We can make up so many excuses for why we don't have a Black woman. And Spike talks about it. She's too tall. She's too thin. Her face, her hair. She's too light. She's too dark. She's bow-legged. She's pigeon-toed. We can think of anything. But he said, we'll bring home a 400-pound peg leg, one eye, anything else, and say, Mama, I love her. And so our standard for the Black woman has to be one of perfection. But yet the Black male doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
But the Black woman has to be.
Yes.
And so, but all that comes from a loss of identity, a loss of culture. And again, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we want to sit the white lunch counter so bad that the Black lunch counter closed.
Right.
We want the white schools and the white education so bad.
Yeah.
Because they only took the students.
Right.
They didn't take the teachers, the superintendents, the principals, the bookmakers, the janitors, the cooks. They all lost their jobs.
Right.
They only took the students
Right.
and the federal and state aid that went with those students.
Right.
And
Can't
so it
forget
was
that part.
economically beneficial to white folks.
Absolutely.
And when white folks figured it out, it was culturally beneficial because we then make them closer to being us. And Brother Spike and I say all the time, and your listeners don't know this, but there's nobody blacker than me and him. and we are still closer to being European than we are Africans.
Yeah.
Because as long as you have a television set and you have a cell phone, they got you. Have you ever just said something on your cell phone and talk about it, and next thing you know, it pops up?
Yep.
It pops up on the
Absolutely. I think that's crazy. It happens all the time. I will ask someone about some shoes, and then the shoes will just all of a sudden pop up. It's like, okay, yes, we can talk about that later. Hey, Jazzy Mimi, welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us today, Jazzy. Tyrone.
Yes.
Let's dive into the topic of conversation here.
Okay, go.
Because I know that your mission, the focus, your purpose in your life is to help out our young Black boys and girls.
No question.
So that they don't continue down the road of crime, and to give them some sense of hope for their future. When I had you on the last time, I feel like I don't remember what the issue was then, because of course there's always somebody Black getting killed by police officers. But once I brought up our police officers killing our Black men, there is something that you said right away. And so I thought, with Tyree Nichols, this brings us a very unique situation to be able to talk about Black on Black crime, as well as police killing our Black men. And the first thing you sent me was, why do they have more murders in Memphis than they have in Minnesota when the population is only like half, right?
Yes.
Jump in and talk a little bit about the difference between, of course, Black on Black crime and then our cops killing our Black boys.
Well, and I probably did about 25 or 30 interviews here, and I tell people, as tragic as what happened in Memphis was, it was a tragedy. I mean, no young man should be beaten by the hands of law enforcement officers to a point that he loses his life. And then for most people, for me, it being Memphis, the city where Dr. King gave his last speech on April 4th,
yes,
the city where he was murdered, that the city, he came to Memphis to make things better for those same police officers to get that job. And then you do that to Dr. King. So that's where my mind went. But then I immediately shifted to Mr. Nichols being murdered. But then when I looked at it, Memphis last year had 302 murders. The year before they had 346. So that is 648 murders. And the majority of those in Memphis are us.
Yes.
But CNN didn't cover that. We didn't march. We didn't protest any of those babies being murdered.
And we never do.
And we never do. And, I think we talked a little bit before on the last part one of this, is I have a hat that says 5/531 on it. And the 5 are George Floyd and 4 other, Philando Castile, Jamar Clark, Boogie Winston, Dante Wright, who were all killed by police officers here.
Yes.
But we had 531 black on black murders in the same time period. And you can pick any age child you want. 1, 2, 3, 4 that was killed in our community by us. And people often ask me, Ben Crump don't show up for none of them. Al Sharpton ain't coming for none of them.
No.
So my child being murdered by the hand of the police or by another 15, 16-year-old in the street, my child is still dead. And I understand the trust and serve, you're an elected official, but in cities like Baltimore, DC, Atlanta, Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, New Orleans, you name it, 70 to 75% of the officers are black. You live in Phoenix. I don't know where it is in Phoenix. I'm sure it's not that high.
No, it's not.
But in those big cities, and one thing Chief Finney told me years ago, and this is before body cameras and car cameras, that a police officer can pretty much make a normal traffic stop and execute you and get away from it. Never serve a day. Now,
We've seen that over and over again.
Policing has changed because of body cameras and cell phones, because most people now will immediately turn their cell phone on when a cop is doing something wrong. But we won't turn the same cell phone on when somebody from our community is doing something wrong. We have a mother here named Terrill. The kid was Terrill Mays. Her son, Mrs. Mays' son, got killed at 3 years old. Shot coming down the stairs to his mama. And every year she says he should be an 8th grader this year. I should be buying clothes.
Right.
For him to be an 8th grader. He was a good baby. And so most of us, we move on from these murders. The mothers do not.
Yep, absolutely.
The mother, she said, I can't even move out this house until there's been an arrest.
Wow.
Because I need to have closure. And we have that, no snitch, no snitching.
It's no snitch rule.
Mm-hmm. Right. I know who did it, but I ain't gonna tell. And so we have a different standard for black on black murder than we do a police murder.
How do we change? So you work with a lot of these young people, Tyrone, and I know that you have deep conversations with them. When you ask them, what will it take for them to move away? Maybe that's not the right question to ask, but maybe the question I want you to answer is why? Why do they make the decision to be in a gang or to be on the road to becoming a criminal? Like, what puts them on that path and what would get them off? I think that's how I want to put it. What put them on the path and what do they tell you that it would take to get them off? I want to hear what they say.
What puts them on the path is the culture. They don't, in the culture environment they're born into. They don't come out of their mother's womb with a pistol in their hand.
Right.
They don't come out of their mother's womb saying, I want to steal a car. I want to assault somebody. We had a young man last week, 2 rival groups, one Korean, one black, battling back and forth. They beat a Korean man, 81 years old. Some young African-American boys, till he's almost dead. And then video recorded it and told the Korean group, we just beat your uncle to death. And which then led to 2 our African-American boys being shot by the same Korean gang. But again, I turned the clock back on that 15-year-old.
Okay.
Because at birth, he didn't come out of his mother's womb like that.
But his mother didn't necessarily raise him to steal a car either. To steal cars, right?
She put him in a culture and environment.
Okay. Explain that part.
Well, when you got men going in and out, you got drugs, alcohol, and the rest going on. That you're teaching me every rap song and dance. You're giving me nothing in terms of from 0 to 6 are the most important years.
Right.
That's when the nurturing, you can be poor, no money. You can have pinto beans one day, navy beans the next, and rotate them and mix them up the next day.
Yeah.
And throw some cornbread and one piece of meat in it. But if you love me, I'll never even know I'm poor. You can wash my same pair of jeans every night, iron them, press them, send me out the door. I'm still good. But when you don't give me the nurturing part, and when you don't give me the part where I know I am loved, then I'm angry. I'm angry at the world. So now I go to school, first grade, second grade, third grade. It's the same thing. So they're now angry at the world. We got situations now where when you call a parent to come to the school, they come to school cussing the teacher out, cussing the principal out. I was watching TV, don't bother me. That's your job. Girls have a fight. We had a situation last week. 2 ninth graders girls have a fight. The one ninth grader loses the fight. Her mama waits on the girl the next day to fight
What?
the ninth, to fight the ninth grader. Here's another story I'll share with you. 2 weeks ago, we have a young lady get caught shoplifting at Target. When the cops say, you know what, I'm gonna do Tyrone a favor. I'm gonna just call the mama. Mama said I'll be right up there to get my baby. They take her in the back of the store. Say, we're not gonna charge her, ma'am. We're gonna let her go, but we want you to talk to her. They're leaving the store. The mom says to her daughter, with the cop, she knows the cop was coming. You little MF. I taught you how to steal better than that.
That's
That you,
crazy.
that you got caught in Target. So who do we blame? The girl
Yes.
that,
Who do we
who,
blame?
and my cousin sent me something today from Kansas City, which is so true. And it says here, I'm going to read it real quick. Your children learn from you. You're nice, they are nice. You're nasty, they are too. You're happy, they are happy. You're sad, they're sad. Your kids copy you. This is not genetic, it's learned. They're taught by you. Think about it. Be a better person to create a better person. Starts with you. And then at the end of that, there's a picture, and I'm going to show it to you real quick. Can you see that?
Yes. A mom and two.
So you see her tongue out the.
Yes, her tongue into the kids. That makes perfect sense. I was that way with my kids.
Well, and again, if we don't do a better job from 0 to 6,
Right.
and that's why I'm talking to people on the Hill now at the Capitol. We need early intervention. I'm putting together a proposal now to the legislature, to the governor, that let's say a mom is making $20,000 a year, but she needs $40,000 to really take care of her kids and be home. We give her the other 20. She just has to go to work. She has to go to work every day.
Right.
Her kids have to go to school, but we did support her economically because it costs way more than that to incarcerate one of them. It's almost 75 grand per person here. That's to get to the prison. That has nothing to do with the jail time, the prosecutor, all the stuff, the juvenile stuff that takes place. So we don't have early intervention. And I told Spike, we've actually failed. Because we started doing gang stuff way before 1990, but the gang summit started in 1991, 92, 93, which then led to the Million Man March with Mr. Farrakhan. Well, when you're dealing with an 18, 20, 25, 30-year-old, it's tough to change his behavior. It's really tough to change a 14, 15-year-old. It took 11 months, 12 months. And this is dealing with these boys 3 times a week, sometimes
Right.
up to 2 and 3 hours, and they're incarcerated. And they all become Muslims in prison. You know, if I had $1 for every prison Muslim, I could retire.
That's
No,
another conversation I want to have today too. So
yeah. But I'm just saying that until we engage as a Black community, and there used to be a thing we call it takes a village to raise a child.
yes, it does.
Well, there's very few places in America that there's a Black village anymore. When I say a Black village, meaning where when a kid comes home from school, if his mom ain't home, he could go knock on your door, come in your house, you're going to feed the kid and make sure he's okay.
Yep.
We don't do that anymore. And so I tell people, stop trying to say you're going to save St. Paul or Minneapolis or Memphis or Phoenix. Can you save your block? Do you know everybody on your block? And I got this from...
Save a block. All right. I'm writing this down. Go ahead. Keep going.
I got this from... I was dating this girl about 10 years ago in North Minneapolis. And we go to dinner with her 2 kids, come back, house is broke into, TV's gone, his new Jordans is gone. And so I put a call out to the hood. I get a call within 30 minutes. A brother says, Brother Tyrone, we have the young man who broke in your house. I'm bringing him to you. The brother walks in and says to me, this is exact words, nigger, this is your fault. I say, I did like you. I said, well, little brother, help me out. How is this my fault? He said, brother, if you're connected enough to find out in 30 minutes who broke in your house, all you had to do when you moved over here, I said, brother, I don't live here. Well, brother, but you should just told the same people you called that this is your woman's house.
Wow.
And it's not to be touched. Then he gave me $200 and walked out. Said, nigga, get your door fixed. Then he had a couple more brothers bring the TVs back, bring the shoes back.
What?
But he had a point.
No.
Yeah, he did. I should have, when I tell you right now, a few minutes ago, know your block, right?
Right.
I did not take time. He lived 4 doors down.
The young man that robbed her lived 4 doors down.
Right. So if I took time to know my neighbors on that block,
then you know that there was a thief there.
But nothing would have happened.
Right. Like, so what does it mean to know that they're there?
You got to know your block. You need to meet everybody. You need to take time, and particularly more so in a normal relationship. This was an unnormal relationship, this one I'm talking about. But he put it on my head forever.
Right.
That he's right in a sense that I should have told the boys, don't touch this house. Don't wait till he break in.
So I just have to make sure that I call you if I end up on the north side.
Well, it's not just north side, it's St. Paul. It's anywhere you move that you have a responsibility to know your neighbors.
I agree with that.
9 times out of 10.
When I lived there, that's what we would do in August. Every year, we would shut down the block and we would have a block party.
Everybody needs to do that a couple, 3 times during the summer. Is tell the city we're blocking off both sides of the street. We're gonna bring our own grills. We're gonna take a pad and pen, and write down every child's name, their birthday, what grade they're in, the best phone number for their parents, who's the emergency contact, and then create this list. Somebody prints it up. Everybody gets a copy.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, if somebody breaks in your house, they live within 4 blocks of you.
Right. I've heard that somewhere before.
And because nobody just drives from St. Paul to Minneapolis and says, I'm going to pick this house out to rob.
You have to kind of know what's in there, right?
There's some intel.
There's been some
intel, whether it's your garbage can, when you buy a new TV, you want everybody to know so you don't cut the box up. You just stick it in your garbage can that I got a 75-inch, y'all. Thank you for the invitation. I'll be back to get it.
I'll be back. And then they say that once they rob you once, because they know you're going to have to replace all your stuff, they're probably going to come back again. At least that's how it used to be back in the day.
So back to your original question, there has to be early intervention.
Hey, Heaven's Girl. Sorry, just want to say hi to Heaven's Girl. Thank you so much for coming in. Go ahead, Tyrone.
There has to be early intervention. If we haven't done it by normally from 0 to 6, it gets much tougher from 6 to 12.
Yes.
So the most important years, the foundation years. When you build a house,
the foundation is the most important thing.
The foundation is the most important
thing. Yes.
So if you don't give a child a solid foundation.
Yep. And that's with every relationship. Every relationship needs a solid foundation.
If you don't have a solid foundation,
yes.
And
my question though, Tyrone.
What's the question?
My question is, so we have the best early childhood education program in the North Side, because we know that's even hard to come by, right? Like they're not even preparing our kids to go to kindergarten anymore.
But see, that's where we're wrong, sis. That's where we're wrong. It's not their job. You're supposed to bring them to that school prepared. So the parents are not doing their job in terms of first the nurturing, loving piece.
But we can't all be teachers, though. Like
you don't have to be. You ain't supposed to be a teacher.
Okay.
I don't want you to be a teacher.
So what about those households that just are not going to comply? Because no matter how much work we do, Tyrone, no matter how much action we take, no matter what we do, there are going to be those kids that are still going to be in the households that are not preparing them for life, that are still exposing them. They're still exposing them to stuff that they don't need to be exposed to. So for those kids, what do we do about them?
They will still be the same ones that it won't be me, but another Tyrone in somebody else's city or here will have to work with those young men and women. I'm doing group last week, and a mom is complaining about her son, 14, smoking marijuana.
Yes.
He finally said it in the conversation, Mama, you made me start liking marijuana. I would tell you in the car, me and my brother can't breathe, and you would tell us to crack the window. She went, oh shit, I forgot all about that.
So I think Heaven's Girl meant to say the child that is prepared becomes an influence to another. And so that's awesome, Heaven's Girl, to just think about that. Mm-hmm. Once you have those, so see, there you go, Tyrone, you have the good kids influencing no matter what. And maybe those families can bring those kids into their households. Because remember, some Miss Ann down the street knew that Bobby's mom didn't get home until 9:00. And so right. Bobby would be at Miss Ann's house, right? Are our communities doing this anymore? As you mentioned before, it takes a village. Have we lost the village?
The village has been gone. And that's why I'm talking about just save your block. That you do exactly what you said. So he knows Miss Ann. The Miss Anns today are scared to death to even speak to our children. Yes, yeah. Sister. Heaven's Girl. Right. She's right on point. We have lost it. But we can get it back.
We can get it back.
One block at a time. Stop trying to say the whole city.
Just save your block.
Save your block.
Do you have that already, Tyrone? Save your block. When I get back to Minnesota, we're gonna have to work on that.
Oh, hey, it is the only way we're going to be able to do it because if you
Yes,
don't know
heavens
the kid,
girl.
and she's right on, this sister's right on point. And I think I told you the story before, but we did the '93 Gang Summit in D.C. And Brother Raheem, a brother from D.C. who was working with us, his daughter came downstairs to go to prom. And looking good, he introduced her to me and Brother Spike. And the doorbell rang, the little brother comes in. And Brother Raheem said, "Hold up, brother. Tell me about yourself. You got ready to take my baby. What time you going to have her home?" And, he said, "Well, Mr. Raheem, what time do you want her home?" He said, "First of all, where do you live at?" He said, "I live across the street, brother." But Brother Raheem had been so busy going to LA and Detroit and Chicago and Cleveland doing gang summits with us that he never walked across the street to see who did. And Raheem felt bad. I mean, he got emotional.
I bet he did.
He got emotional about it.
Yes.
Because I'm doing all these things in everybody's city, including my own Washington, D.C. And the very boy that's taking my baby to the prom wasn't from 8 blocks or 8 miles or 10 miles away, across the street.
Right across the street and didn't know who he was. I'm sure that was very impactful for him. I've got goosebumps just thinking about that myself, but you've definitely given me a new perspective on this because I am not one. Like, I've lived in the same apartment complex for 5 years. I only know my downstairs neighbor.
Are you serious? But
I was
that's a prime example of knowing your block, your building, because again, most of it happens in apartment buildings. Like I told, I just sold my townhouse of 25 years. I'm now in a condo, and we had a
You
safety
sold your
meeting.
place?
Yeah, it was time. I had too much room, just me.
There was a lot of room there.
It was too much. But we had a safety meeting about people leaving the garage open, cracking doors and leaving them open. The people who deliver food, they deliver food in steel packages. That's their new thing up here. When you're done, you're what do they call him?
Grubhub.
Grubhub. And they know you're the person that bought the food here. You're done. You're stupid. But if we don't have that same village block conversation, even in an apartment building, or here we have a mixed living where it's condos, above me is apartments, but the
Right.
first level is condos. You still have to know your neighbors. And that's your best security blanket.
Absolutely.
If your neighbor doesn't value you enough to watch your house when you go on vacation, if your neighbor doesn't value your children enough that they know it's raining, they come home, they're sitting on the step and you leave them out there. And so it's about us take back our community.
Thank you, Heavens girl.
You got to take back our community. And, the video you sent me when Brother Malcolm was talking about it, this ain't our system. Quit asking somebody else's system to save you.
I have that video to play today.
Oh, okay. Right.
Listen, I knew that when you came, what I wanted to do was really focus on, because we're moving past just having the conversation over here. We have to figure out what we do to make a change, because if we haven't figured out now that it's up to us to save ourselves, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen moving forward.
I make all my boys read this book right here.
All right. How old is that book? I've never even heard of it before.
Are you serious?
I wouldn't lie to you about that.
I'm gonna tell you what's funny. You see, I keep them for my boys, right?
Yes.
So when my boys say they ain't got one, even my 4 community navigators that work for me.
Yes. Let me put that. All right, hold on. Message. I'm gonna put that in the chat. Black man is one word.
Yep. In America, by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
So we're gonna have to talk about.
And for most people say, well, that's a Muslim book. There is a lot of this about Islam, but there's chapters in here about treating a black woman. There's
Yes.
chapters about being a man. And people often say, well, Muslims pray 5 times a day. And I tell my boys all the time, my grandmother, who was a devout Christian, right? She prayed 20 times a day. My grandma was
I pray
23
all
months.
day, every day.
Right. She prayed all day long. So don't get caught.
Jesus, please help me.
Right.
It could be that short.
And so getting us to understand that we have to love her. If you don't love and respect yourself. So we teach the boys and the girls to value themselves, respect themselves, and love themselves. And so we operate on what we call, and you've heard me say it before, a deposit relationship. It's like your bank account. If you don't make deposits, you can't make withdrawals.
Right.
And most of these young men will tell you, from meeting them 11 months ago, calling me ML, nigga, why you in my business? F you, nigga. Nigga, when I get out, I'll fuck you up, nigga. You know, till hanging up yesterday, I love you, brother Tyrone. And then they went, oh man, I didn't say that. That slipped out. You know, and so, but it's the investment. It's if we don't make deposits. See, everybody wants to say, fix your hat, right?
Right.
So when we see them with a hat like this, right? They got the hat turned sideways.
Or to the back.
The underwear is showing. And I tell people all the time, I've never seen a dirty pair of underwear on a kid. Because most of them wear 2 pair. Most people don't even know that. They got 2 pair.
They got to have the clean pair that they show, and then the real pair that catches all the stuff. Yes.
And my son was a 4.0 student and dressed that way.
Yes, because it's just the style.
You can go to any suburban school in the Twin Cities or in Phoenix. The white kids dress the same way. Jerseys, baseball caps. They copy whatever our kids do.
We are the culture in America.
We are the culture.
We are the culture.
And so until we take control of it, though, you know, we're losing too many 14, 15-year-olds. I've got 55 right now.
55?
Yeah.
I said you had 25. I was way off.
Well, there's about 25 or 30 in PSN.
Okay.
But then the intervention and prevention program has another 55. The 25 that we talked about a little bit last time are individuals who either have been shot or shot somebody. The 55 are 12 to 17.
Okay.
That either have went from they stolen cars initially. These boys are so good that one of my staff was on our Zoom call in a parking lot, and he looked at his steering wheel and saw Chevrolet on it, right? And said to him, oh, that's a 2020 Chevrolet Blazer. That's the last car I stole before I came in here. Now you can look on a steering wheel.
Right.
But you know cars so well.
They're missing his calling. He should be like, see, those are things that I'm like, all right, so I don't know if people like recognize. So that must be his calling. Maybe he needs to design a car. He needs to fix cars. There's something that he needs to do with cars. If that, you know what I mean? Like, this is the issue that I have. And I'm sure that we've had this conversation before. I think I mentioned it when you were here the last time. I feel like the difference is, you know, between the gangs of today and the gangs of yesterday are that our boys just they don't have any future in what they're doing. There's no end to what they're doing. They're just kind of robbing cars for joyrides and making sure they have money for nice shoes, but they're really not investing in their future with their money.
Yeah, today, at least for Minneapolis and St. Paul, they're just stealing cars to joyride. They get an emotional high at going 90 miles an hour and being chased by the police. They're not selling cars. They're not chop blocking them, cutting them up for parts. They're not involved in any drug trade or anything like that. They're just running around with a gun
Yeah.
and a stolen car.
That's what I don't understand. That's the part I don't understand. What's the future? What's your future in it? But most of those children of ours, they don't have any hope for their future. And so they don't even think they're going to live to be a certain age. So why even care about anything?
It's interesting you say that because about 5 of my boys 2 weeks ago said, I'm okay with this. It's God's plan for me to die at 15. I said, no, son. This is your plan. God's plan, that is not God's plan for you. That's your plan for you. And so as long as you think that, then you're prepared to lose your life.
Yeah.
At 14, 15, 16 years old. But that is definitely not, but to hear, and all four of them, the other four agreed with him, that was God's plan.
Wow. We hear that all the time though.
Right.
I mean, whatever path that we're on, we're told it is God's plan. Like we have no control over it. It's just whatever God wants from you. Not understanding that we can create the life that we want, understanding that God is within us. I think that's the piece we're missing. Like we can have some control. Now we're not going to have all the control. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I ain't going to sit here and say that.
But
God He gives us that choice.
You can have a car wreck. You could do a number of ways you could end up being killed.
Yes.
Health, disease, cancer, whatever, COVID, you name it, can happen.
Yes.
But when you decide to just go steal a car and drive 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Heaven's girl, I totally agree. Life experiences deposit that attitude because we have nowhere else to grasp onto. You're so right. We hang on. Whether we know it or not, we hang on to whatever can make us feel a little bit secure, even if our lives don't really give that to us, Tyrone. Let's move. I want to move specifically into talking about Black Panther Party. Only because I like to challenge people to think about when our neighborhoods were safe and secure. And I feel like a lot of us have been alive long enough to know when those days were, right? And I also feel like the Black Panther Party really had the best idea of how to impact our communities the best of all of the research I've done. And I could be wrong. There's probably some stuff I ain't read. However, and I have something here. So I have the Black Panther Party 10-point program written in 1966 for you, Tyrone.
Oh, I'm very familiar with it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So I go back and I look at this and I think, is this relevant today? Because not only are we trying to move past just having the conversation, but we need to connect today. We need to connect our present to our past, because I feel like with all of the work that we're doing to erase history now, we need to make sure that Black folks understand where we came from. And so that we can all get on the same boat. We need to get on the same fire ant pad, because it's up to us to move past all of this. So let's talk about this, Tyrone. Number one.
I mean, I agree with all of them, right? All 10 of them.
Are they relevant today?
They're definitely relevant today. But they left. Have you ever seen the Nation of Islam's 10-point one?
No, I have not seen the Nation of Islam's.
In back of a final call is always 10-point one, just like this. And the one I always said the Panthers left out. And I'll let you do the research to find out really why.
Okay.
You don't see anything about the Black woman on here?
No.
Again, I'll say it again. I'll let you research that.
Okay. And that's funny that you say that, because as a person who understand or who thinks they understand the Nation of Islam, I would not think that that would be a priority
for the Nation of Islam.
I mean, just to mention it, because for the Million Man March, they didn't even want Maya Angelou to go up there and read her poem. He wanted somebody else to read it.
Who told you that?
That's just what I have researched. It
I
could definitely be wrong.
I was on the planning committee. Not true.
Yes, that's good.
Not true.
That's good. So I just feel like most of these things are still relevant today. And
they are very relevant. But the most important one is the Black woman.
Yes. So since you mentioned that, because not only do I have the Black Panther Party, because we're going to talk about the Million Man March as well, of course, just connecting this to our neighborhoods and our communities. How can we see improvement in our communities? Thinking about what worked back then. And when I talked to my dad about the Black Panther Party, and my mom, when she was alive, they in their mind, the Black Panther Party were gang. That was a gang.
They were not, okay. They were not a gang. And very similar to the Nation of Islam, when the Southern Poverty Law Center out of Montgomery, Alabama, under Morris Dees, would put out the top 40 hate groups in America, right?
Yes.
And he made the Nation of Islam number 10.
Okay.
And at the time, Morris did not know I was a member of the Nation of Islam. I said, Morris, you name one time when the Nation of Islam has threatened or beat up or killed a black person, a white person in America.
I got Malcolm X saying that, man. I'm going to show that.
Can
I show it right now?
Go right ahead.
About it now. Let me see if I can bring this up right now.
Go right ahead. Go ahead.
I hope that you guys just bear with me, because this is going to be a few minutes for us to listen to what Malcolm X said. But this was amazing. Hold on, let me see. And this is from his interview about the Black Panther Party, actually. So can everyone see that? Let me just make sure. Tyrone, can you see that?
Oh, yeah. I've watched it a couple times that you sent it to me, but.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Let me just play this part, you guys. Hang tight. We're going to listen to this part, and then we're going to come back and talk about it.
Interests me is the fact is that the Nation of Islam has not done anything to retaliate.
I think you should be happy.
No. The important thing is, does your lack of action contradict any of your basic principles?
I'll explain it. You should be happy that Muslims who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, number one, don't believe in any form of integration, and who believe that every mention of the word integration by whites, whether it be from the mouth of Kennedy on down to the mouth of the lowest, raggediest white liberal in the street who is beatnik-like involving himself in these integration efforts, if we believed in it, we would integrate, and we would fight anybody who got in our way or made any effort whatsoever to stop us from integrating. If we really believed that the law of the land, the Supreme Court, and other so-called judicial bodies were for real when they talked about integration, we would integrate. And knowing that the law was on our side, in any effort we made to demonstrate toward integration, why, we would know the law should be on our side, if it's the law of the land. If it is the law of the land, then the demonstrators are within the law, and the discriminators are against the law. But to show you the hypocrisy of the law, when Negroes demonstrate for integration, instead of arresting the discriminators, the law arrests the demonstrators. So this is a foolish move on the part of Negroes. And when you foolishly get yourself involved with an enemy, then whatever comes upon you, that's your business. As Muslims, we believe that separation is the best way and the only sensible way, not integration. And but on the other hand, when we see our people being brutalized by white bigots, white racists, we think that they are foolish to allow themselves to be beaten and brutalized and do nothing whatsoever to protect themselves. They are foolish. They should have the right to defend themselves against any attack made against them by anyone. If a dog is biting a black man, the black man should kill the dog. Whether the dog is a police dog, a hound dog, or any kind of dog. If a dog is sick on a black man, when that black man is doing nothing but trying to take advantage of what the government says is supposed to be his, then that black man should kill that dog or any two-legged dog.
All right, so I think I played the part that we needed to hear. When I think about our communities today, I feel like not much has changed since we saw Malcolm X sitting there. And so let's just jump back into where we were in the conversation, because that's where you were, right?
Yeah. I mean, so what Brother Malcolm said, and remember, I mean, that was probably 64, 65, he's having that conversation.
Hey, Big Stove. Give me one more second, Tyrone, because we've got some people step in the room. I just want to make sure, not your average guy. Hey, very nice to see you. Mama Tanels. I never know if I'm saying that right. Please tell me if I'm saying that right. Big Stove, that's my brother from another mother, because I've taken his mother over. So if you guys are on Twitch and you're not following any of these streamers, please stop and follow them now. If you are a streamer and I missed you and you're in the chat, please put your links in there so that we can follow you. I know Heaven's Girl, you're an awesome streamer. So please, everyone, put your links in the stream. Please. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook and you don't know what Twitch is all about, you need to come on over. There's a great community over here. They know how to really embrace you and make you a part of the community. And I've had so much fun over here in the Twitch land. All right, go ahead, Tyrone. Had to stop and do that.
Oh no, so it's your show. You can do that whenever you want. No, I mean, going back to the Panther conversation, the Panthers were put together as kind of a educator. I mean, I as a kid, they would do the breakfast school stuff programs where they would feed inner city youth, educate them. And then there was the military presence with the guns and the strong force of men and women. But again, as I told Morris Dees, show me one police incident of the Panther with all their weapons, all their black berets, of putting their hands on a white person, doing harmful hurt to a white person, even a threat to a white person. So you can't put them with the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Nation, who have hung, killed, raped, and murdered our community for hundreds of years. And normally the leader of the Klan was normally your local sheriff. So whether it was Jim Clark or Bull Connors, you name it. They wore the sheet in the hood because they were cowards. Yes. They really were about their mission. They would give a damn who saw them, because there was going to be no jury that found a white man guilty of doing something to somebody black. So the Nation of Islam, and again, I spent 30 years there, and we would go sometime, even Minneapolis, 7,500 deep. Yeah. But we never in that 30 years put hands on a white person. And so Brother Malcolm is right that if somebody put their hands on you, whether a four-legged dog or a two-legged dog, but never in my 30 years did a white person even say hello to us. Right. Let me be real clear on that. But the Panthers were great in terms of a promotion of a security force. But again, I know of any documented history of the nation of a Panther doing something to white people.
Right.
And so that's the difference. The Klan, the Aryan Nation, and others, and the White Council, where they call themselves, consistently murdered and killed our people.
Consistently.
I mean, and even in a meeting I was with the FBI a couple of weeks ago, and they brought up the murders of Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney, right? The three kids that came from up north and went to Mississippi to register voters.
Right.
The autopsy report said that the two white guys, Goodman and Schwerner, were killed automatically, right away.
Wow.
No suffering.
Right.
Cheney was castrated, eyes taken, removed, tongue cut out. So they tortured him.
Right.
So even those three workers doing the same thing, right? But he was tortured.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. So the Panthers, as strong as they were, and for only a short period of time, the Panthers weren't around 10 years, 12 years.
They did not allow them to stay around that long. They were killing them off before they could do anything good in the community.
And then the Black community did not keep it going. Not keep it going. And so what was the Panthers, the Nation of Islam, and we got the new group that popped up around here in Twin Cities that walk around with their AKs and hanging around their neck. And
really?
Oh yeah,
like you today?
You'll see them 10, 15 deep.
All right. I can appreciate that. But are they doing anything else though? Because it's not just about the violence in our community that we need to tamper, right? There are more things. Like this 10-point program didn't just talk about social justice and those things. We wanted to make sure that we were taking care of our community. That's what I appreciated the most about the research that I was doing, that they wanted to make sure that their community was taken care of when nobody else really cared.
But sis, you said it a number of times. The first responsibility in the family is the Black woman. If you're not taking care of her, you're not protecting her, then we failed.
Yes.
And too often, that's where we don't start. And so if she's the mother of your children, she gave birth to your children, and you're not there to protect her. And I tell brothers all the time,
right?
Even if you're no longer with her, that the relationship just didn't work, you still have a responsibility to love that woman. When I say love her, and I remember my mother-in-law was dying.
Yes.
And she grabbed my hand and she said, promise me you will always be there for my daughter. And she didn't mean as man and woman. And I told my mother-in-law, my ex-wife could call me right now and tell me she's homeless. And she can move in here right now. She got downstairs though. but or if she called me and said, I need money, she can get my money. I can get more money.
Right.
Because if the mother of my children is happy, then my children are happy.
Right. I think that's pretty good for you to do, even though your kids are grown. Like, be able to move.
Oh no, she understands that. And my current girlfriend hates it, right?
Yes.
So she said, so what do you mean? We get married and something happens to her, you're gonna come to her aid? I said, yeah. I'm gonna come, I'm gonna come to her aid, yes. There
you go. That's the village, right?
Well,
the village does not die.
She's the mother of my children.
Exactly. So, I love that. Well, I know you, so that doesn't surprise me at all. But the community, I just have to go back because I know a lot of people have come in since we started having this conversation. And again, one of the things that we want to do here is make sure that we move past just having the conversation into effective action. And so if we think about our neighborhoods, we think about Black on Black crime and how we seem to be held captive from the bad parts of what makes our communities. Saving your block is one way to get started. I love the attitude or the suggestion of just shutting down your block a couple times a year, but depending on where you live. Of course, Minnesota is still only going to be in the summertime, but depending on where you are, you can shut your block down. All you gotta do is call your police officer, your local police. They can shut your block down. And if you do it during the right time, you can like invite your local fire department there. Like you can make this, your block party, this really awesome thing for your kids and the community. And then before you know it, the next block might start doing it because they might see what you're doing. And then the next block, and it can become contagious. Yeah.
It really can. And if people understand, but there has to be somebody there to do the work. Somebody has to collect all the numbers, the phone numbers, the birthdays, all that. If you got an older woman on your block, she's 80 years old, who's making sure she got groceries? Who's going to the store for her? Who's making sure she's good? And who a simple thing of her snow. A lady called me 2 weeks ago when it snowed and told me that her 83-year-old mother was outside doing snow. I made two of my little knuckleheads, I call them knuckleheads. Get your butt over there and do that woman's snow all the way around their house. And they ended up, they got carried away with it. They did the whole block. They sold everything. And now they're going to go back anytime it snows. They're going to go right to her house and make sure she's taken care of. But again, people on her block, you can't tell me there's not somebody on that block that's not going to let an 83, 84-year-old woman have to deal with snow. And so, or in summertime, cut her grass.
Yes.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Who's going to make sure that gets done?
Yes.
And so again, if you want to really have a village requires work.
It does.
A friend of mine, her father went back to Africa. And she said that when her dad walked into the village, the elders started crying without any introduction. They know and you know what? He looked just, they look just like the people in their village. That their family had no integration. And so when you see the people in the village, right? I have that picture. I'm going to show it to you because it's mind-boggling. This is her cousin in Africa. Wait a minute. Can you see it?
I can see it.
What's Why are they acting crazy? Where'd they go?
There. All right. I can see her. That's her. Oh my goodness. She looks like Shamiqua Holtzclaw.
That's my good friend.
I know.
But check out now. This is Sandy, and this is her cousin in Africa.
Nice. They definitely look related.
But
I love it.
Look at that. That when they walked in the village, they came to her dad crying.
Wow.
That they knew he was one of the slaves that was taken. Not her dad. Her dad was 80-something when they went.
Wow.
And so, but turn him back 80-some years. This picture's probably 10 years old, 12 years old. But for them to walk into the village without any introduction, they started crying. They'd been waiting. They'd been waiting for the return.
Wow.
And so the village thing is real.
That is real. That like really touches you, right?
If we make it real.
Right.
If we make it real.
Wow.
And we sometimes don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
So I want to talk about one little thing before we move into talking about the Million Man March and Martin Luther King Jr. Mm-hmm. I found this today or yesterday. So we're going to focus on this little part about what the Legal Defense Fund has done. And I think the whole reason why I wanted to make sure that we looked at this was because I feel like this is one of those things that is going to help. This is going to help move us past just having the conversation into some effective action, right? So the Legal Defense Fund released their framework for public safety. Here, let me get back over to it and make sure I got the screen big enough. All right. So now, again, Tyrone, I don't know if you've seen this yet.
I've seen it a number of times.
Okay. So tell me what you think about this, because we're, the framework for public safety, our nation is at an inflection point in its struggle to keep communities safe. Our current system of law enforcement has largely been unsuccessful in reducing violence and increasing public safety on a sustained basis. It is also historically rooted in the racial subjugation of the people it disproportionately targets and harms. We must consider an alternative to the current system and advance a plan for effective, equitable, and humane public safety structures. Many promising reforms and models exist. LDF offers this framework comprised of the 3 mutually reinforced strategies as a starting point for progress. So I found this and thought that it was very interesting. I wanted to bring this to your attention because I feel like this is something that your organization would benefit from. But even as we're, having this conversation and people are all over the country, wherever you are, how can we take this framework and really start helping to take the gangland out of our communities?
It's, I love the organization. A good friend of mine, Cheryl Lynn Hill.
I love her.
Cheryl Lynn was the head of this organization for a number of years.
Yes.
And there are a lot of what we call interrupters, civilian responders now that work in both St. Paul and Minneapolis and actually throughout the country. But they have to be extremely careful because they cannot and will not replace the police.
No, we don't. I don't know that anyone's asking them to replace them.
They've asked for half the budget to be given to them. And for example, and then have these folks patrol our communities, be visible in our communities.
So that's this first one here, right? Build a core of unarmed civilian responders. So what they're asking for there is to just take some of the police budget and apply it to building this core of unarmed civilian responders?
Yes.
That's still not asking to get rid of the police. That's just asking to reimagine how we fund them.
Well, it would take it, let's say, from 500 police officers down to 250.
Okay.
Which is a reduction. The problem, I believe in doing it this way, meaning that whether it's my Men of March group, as you know, it's about 25, 30 brothers that have done that work for a number of years. But my guys also work their own jobs.
Right.
And that unless a certain code is put in their phone, they're not leaving work. They're not going to do anything unless, it's mandatory to do so.
Right.
But this is tough for community to do this. I mean, because again, you have to train all these individuals have to be trained, paid. Too often they want to give them a check, let's say $35 an hour, right?
Okay.
But they get no insurance, no life insurance, no health benefits. So you're on your own, that you could easily get hurt, or in some cases even killed doing that work, because when you're dealing with individuals from an individual or even individuals involved in gang activity, right? You're coming to a situation asking people to do certain things with not the authority to do so. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
So they don't. So the only group I've known that's been successful without any weapons of doing this has been the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam has done it in Philadelphia and DC and other places where crime was at a high level. But the Nation of Islam's strength is in numbers. So if you put 100 brothers out there, and most people know about the Nation is that a large percentage of all those brothers have spent significant time in the penitentiary.
Right.
Are brothers who don't take any mess from anybody. And they've been well trained as a team.
Okay.
Which this would have to happen to work. And so I think it's a good concept.
Okay.
But it's a concept that requires extreme discipline. And then the most important thing is availability.
Right.
At 3:00 in the morning, and I got a domestic going. Who's going to get up and go to that house and deal with that man? Because the first thing happens is, and as the men of March, we've dealt with it before. Oh, you with my woman? You don't? Are you him? Why she call you?
Oh Lord.
So I'm just saying, there's so many dynamics that go into this interrupter team that you're talking about having. In every community, you can do that, but who's going to cover it?
There are some logistics for sure.
And that's why it's been difficult anywhere.
You know, I always have to challenge difficult.
Oh,
because if we want it done, then it gets done. And so that's the problem that I have.
But when you say to people this, we need resources to make it happen. Are you willing to do $50 a month? No, brother, I ain't.
Well, no, you just have to. I feel like we have to use the resources that we already have available to us. Now, how that looks, I'm not sure, but I know hospitals are open 24 hours a day. Is there someone on staff that can be that person that you know responds when we don't need the cops? Like, I believe that there's a way to do anything.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you, but
yeah, let's just do it.
The resources. The state of Minnesota has a $20 billion surplus. $20 billion.
Surplus. And you telling me there's no money to be spent on stuff like this there?
Well, I know this governor. He's going to put $5 or $6 billion into education, which really doesn't really help our children.
Well, how do we that's another conversation, but it should help our children.
You know, he's going to put another $5 or $6 billion into the infrastructure, the highways, the freeways, the bridges, all that. So now we're done
from the federal government. I'm waiting for that.
So I often tell our community here, you are never in the meeting with government. So you meet with the governor. The governor meets with his team before you get there. Then he meets with you. He listens. Somebody takes notes for him. He might even take a couple. Then they meet after you leave. So you were never in a meeting. You think you were in a meeting, but you're never really in one.
Okay.
And so we have to make an ask, right?
Okay.
And we just did a thing, not we, but Dr. Bruce Corey from here, that Black folks in last year paid $7.5 billion in taxes. We paid $7.5 billion from the Black community.
You said billion.
Billions. Right. Create over 300,000 jobs are Black people in this state. So if we pay taxes worth $7.5 billion, then we have a right to ask for some of that money.
Absolutely.
So, Governor, it's our money. You took it from us. And
so is this the time then when we need to work with our mayor? Like I just want to get to the point where no more excuses. This is what we want. This is the way that we feel like you can give it to us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we expect. And I just believe I learned with Barack Obama that the president means nothing.
That's right.
Like the president means nothing. They made sure that man got nothing that he like, and Black people are mad at Barack Obama. Like, how can you be mad at him? I don't know. But what I do know is that I learned that I was reiterated that politics are local. So,
and you know what? You're one of the first. You're one of the very few people that I've ever heard say that. And I tell people all the time, if you put the president in one room, your senator in one room, your governor, your mayor, and your council member, everybody would run to the presidential room, the Senate room, the governor room. The first room you should run to is your Ward 1, your council member.
Absolutely.
Because the money comes from federal aid to state aid to what they call LGA or local government assistance.
Yes.
They will decide if your streets get plowed, if your rec centers are open, your tax base.
Absolutely.
But we spend more time.
Yeah.
We'd rather have a picture with Obama than when my good friend Debbie Montgomery
yes.
was the Ward 1
Bobby Joe. I can't wait to get there and take a picture with Bobby Joe.
Right. And so you're one of the few people who I've heard say that the importance is not at the federal, state, but at the local level.
It is.
Your council member.
Yes.
They're
the ones that listen, that president hasn't done nothing for me. Not Barack Obama, not Trump, definitely not Clinton. Don't even get me started on that man.
He was your first Black president.
He was not my first Black president.
I know. I like when folks say that stupid stuff.
Lord have mercy.
He played a saxophone with sunglasses and got Black.
With Arsenio Hall. I blame Arsenio for that one. But anyways, politics are local. And it's definitely local what we're trying to do here. If we're going to make a dent into getting the gangland out of our community, then we got to start with our community. It can't happen, on the national, not even the state level. It has to start with us. And I love, again, two things that we're doing, y'all. Save your block. Make sure that you know everyone who's on your block. Make sure that everyone's taken care of on your block. That's like where we're going to start this. Save your block, y'all. And then second, we need to figure out how we do early intervention with our kids, with the kids who are in households that don't have that as their first thought, right? If the parents' first thought is not, how am I going to make sure that my kid is better? Then we need to make sure that we're impacting that family, right? Early intervention. When are you going to get that part of your organization done? Or do you lean on other organizations for that early intervention part?
We're talking to the churches. We're talking to the schools but we're talking to families. We're going to do more with and we did 3 days last year, a 3-day gang violence summit. And we had 300-400 people each night there, right? But we had the wrong 300-400. Most of the people there were 40 and up. And they're not the ones that, I've got mothers with, out of my 55, probably at least 10 mothers, right? With 7 children or more. And they're under 40. Okay. That's a burden for any woman. I have one woman's got 9.
Wow.
9 children. And what she's seen is, and most of them have multiple fathers. All of them fathers are in prison or just got out of prison. And so the boys are saying, my daddy's a prisoner, been in prison. My older brother's been in prison. I'm in that same life. You know?
Generational.
And so if we don't stop that vicious cycle,
right.
There's an old saying about being downstream, taking them out of the river. We want to be upstream and stop putting them in.
Yeah.
And so we have to become a community that doesn't want to put them in. And you'd be surprised on this block thing we're talking about. If you're just nice to a kid, you're just nice to a kid.
Right.
We had a kid named Perry who ran for mayor of Minneapolis.
I remember him.
And I'm at a thing one time last year for Brother KG's granddaughter who got killed at 5 years old, took a bullet at McDonald's. And the little brother said, Mr. Terrill, do you remember me? And I said, no, sir. He said, you came to my school when I was in the 3rd grade. And my teacher had you talk to us about, of course, Dr. King. And you inspired me to become a politician. So you never know how you're going to influence a child.
You never know.
You never know. And so we just take time. It just, big brothers, big sisters in the Twin Cities, 9% of the bigs are white males.
90%?
90%. Because most black males say, I can't afford it. You ain't got to spend no money. Bring them over on Saturday afternoon, you're gonna watch football.
Right?
Let him watch the game with you. When you go shoot hoop, let him go to the park with you. Let him shoot in between games. And so, you remember my good friend Clyde Turner.
I really am sad that I wasn't there to say goodbye to him.
And so I lived with him when I came in 72 to be a gopher with him. Well, he was actually done, but that's who I lived with. Yeah. And he made all of us be big brothers. His first job after being cut from the NBA was with Big Brothers Big. He was the first black employee. Okay. And he told them, all my teammates will become bigs. And we did. And my little brother, who is now 48 years old, has his 12-year-old son in the middle of March.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be your biological. And even when I would go pick up Kenny when he was 7 years old, his sister Natalie was 5, and she would cry to go, right? I took the girl too. But her mom looked at me like, I want you to, you know.
Right. Right. But maybe not the girl.
But I'm just saying that
yes,
it's not a financial commitment.
Yes.
It's a time and a sharing of you commitment.
Yeah.
Because every kid, for the most part, and we had a 17-year-old kid, who's gone that we mentored for over 4 years, but he would never get out of it. He would come out. He didn't come and mentor some of our boys, but he'd get right back in. His mama worked for General Mills. His daddy worked for 3M. And he still wanted to be a gangbanger.
Right.
And he took 7 bullets to his chest.
Wow.
November 14th, 11:30, last year. Devastated his mother and father. And Connor's biggest thing was he was adopted. That bothered him. And they got him in Ethiopia. And I said, Connor, your parents went all the way to Ethiopia and got you out of a refugee camp where kids were dying 50 to 100 a day.
Right.
And bought you and your brother. They're only supposed to get one. And they said we can't leave his brother.
Right.
Now the brother now is a sophomore at the University of Minnesota in biomedicine from the same household. And what's crazy, the two people I just mentioned at General Mills in Pillsbury were both white. But they tried so hard. They put the boy in Harvest Prep, the all-black school.
Yep.
They put him in a black church. And even at about 14, 15, they delivered him to the men of Mars. They said, take our boys. My husband's white. He can't teach him how to be a black man.
Right.
And the one boy got it, but Connor just was so into being a gangster.
But he sounded like he was still maybe hanging on to some anger.
He had some anger about why his biological mama, and
yeah,
I said, brother, she was killed.
Right.
She didn't give you up. I mean, it was a war, as you know, going on then, and many of these kids were left. But I said, brother, the difference is they wanted you. They could have picked out all them babies there. They picked you.
They picked you.
So we have to sometimes do some picking of young men in our community, young women in our community. Yeah, this is right on point. I need to have a show there.
Yeah.
But we make up too many excuses.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Heaven's Girl said yes, but he didn't realize why he should want himself. And that is where it starts. We have so much, like that's one of the things that, here on this podcast, we kind of think about 4 different things, right? How do we heal ourselves? Because we all carry so much trauma around just from living every day. Yes.
Elijah Muhammad talks about you have to first love yourself. It's not an egotistical thing. If you hate yourself, you can never love anybody else.
Absolutely.
Because the self-hatred of self,
yes,
you will have no problem killing or hurting another black man or a black woman.
Yeah. Yep. You're only going to love someone else as much as you love yourself.
Then you can't love your children.
Absolutely. So once you heal yourself, then you can heal your family.
Once you heal yourself, you can heal your family. But until you take that time to understand who you are.
Yes.
And why you hate yourself. And you can say it's because my daddy did this and didn't do that. But a lot of times your daddy had no skills.
And that's what we have to understand. Our parents do the very best that they can. And we have to love them for that. And then figure out how we're going to be better parents to our kids. Like that's how it works. Our parents do as best as they can for us. And many of my mom and dad were 16 and 19 when they got married. 16 and 19, and they were still kids.
Yeah.
They didn't know what the hell they were doing with me.
But that was a common practice.
Absolutely.
Because you couldn't date. I remember my mama talking about the first time she went on a date with my dad, both her sisters went.
Right?
Right. And when they walked, the 2 sisters walked right behind them.
That's too funny, Heaven's Girl. That's too funny.
And we don't protect. If you've seen the way some of our girls come to school,
I'm so far removed.
They come to school today with basically nothing on. How does a mother drop her kid off at school with a tank top here, cut off, right? No bra on.
Listen, I couldn't even wear makeup when I was in school. So
I'm just saying, we've gone so far away. I have a 14-year-old boy in my group with a 3-month-old baby.
Whoa.
He called me last night at 1:00. He said, I miss my baby. Can you take me to go see her? I say, brother, it's 1 a.m. I'm slow, but I ain't that slow.
Oh, Mama T-Nels.
Your baby sleep, and if he's awake, he wants his mama, not you.
He wanted something from his mama,
Right.
from the mama, not the baby.
Right. I said, no, boy, you call me today if you want
Or
me
call an Uber.
Right. But I'm just saying, dude, you wait till 1 o'clock in the morning. And so if we don't take this back.
Yes.
And that's what saddens me again on our earlier conversation about Memphis or St. Paul. And as tragic as George Floyd, Tyreek Nichols, across America. But again, Memphis, 648, which all are probably black on black, and won by 5 black police officers.
Right.
And did you watch the video of that? Did you watch the video?
Yes.
So you know I've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
I knew from the moment I watched the video, it was a personal deal.
Me too.
Because when you let somebody hold him like that.
Yeah.
And so you give up your career on a personal vendetta?
It was a person. You can tell by the way Tyree was even talking to them. Like, dude, you're really doing too much. Like, really? Like, okay. That's how.
Right.
Right. I could tell he knew who they were.
It was personal.
It was definitely personal.
Very, extremely personal.
Yeah.
And so, again, a cop killing one of our babies is wrong.
Yes.
But if you kill my son, police or cop, you wrong.
Right.
My child is still dead. And until we can get to a point in Black America to stop hating ourselves, to a point where we can love our community, talk to our community, and be part of it. We don't, and I tell people this all the time, a community, we have neighborhoods, right?
Yes.
We don't have communities.
Heavens, girl, it is recorded. You can go back and watch the end of it. Thank you so much for stopping by. Go ahead, Tyrone.
Community means you own the bank, the store, the hospital.
Right.
No, we're part of a neighborhood.
Right.
But we don't have a Black community.
You're right.
You own. Jewish people can say they have a Jewish community. They build their synagogue. They build all the houses around it. That's a Jewish community.
Right.
But until you own dirt, my grandma used to say to me all the time, I never understood it. There'd be no more sky and no more dirt. I say, boy, that don't make no damn sense. There will be no more sky and there'll be no more dirt. Dirt turns over. They build something new on every other, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I was just telling the boys, and you were here when the Metrodome was part of it, when the Twins won the first World Series and all that.
Yes.
They tore down the Metrodome on that dirt. There was a business on that dirt first. They tore that down. They built the Metrodome.
Tore that
down. Now U.S. Bank Stadium is on there. On the same dirt. And in 20 more years, they will knock down U.S. Bank Stadium and either build the third stadium on it or it's going to make a heck of a condo shopping mall.
Right?
On the same dirt.
Right. I had this conversation with my friend who lives in the DMV area. I guess the wealthiest Black, the richest Black county is there, Prince George County.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No question.
But I asked her, I said, okay, so that's nice. What about the grocery store? Do you own the grocery? Does Black people own the grocery store?
Right.
She says, well, no, we have to go to another county to go to a grocery store.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's like, listen, so this is where we are now, Tyrone. We are at the point where as long as Black people have a lot of money, like white people, that's all that matters. As long as we can see each other, as long as we've got, our own Rockefeller in the Black community, then we're okay, we're equal. Like as long as, but that's not me. Like my son asked me how I felt about capitalism. And I never thought about it, because the person on the NBA bench that doesn't play a game, his minimum wage is $500,000.
Mhm.
Like, he never has to play a game. He makes $500,000, and we fight over $15 an hour for a freaking living wage. And $15 an hour ain't gonna do shit for you now. Pardon my French, especially now. It'll be nothing for you.
Not a
$15
damn
an
thing.
hour is barely gonna get you a dozen eggs and some milk right now. So to me, it's not, I don't hate on capitalism. What I want to see is that guy sitting on the end of the bench that's making $500,000 still being connected to his community. And so now that, to me, that's the difference. I don't mind capitalism, but what are you giving back? Can we be ants here and not crabs? Like, this is what I'm passionate about. I don't care. Make all the money you want, Oprah. But I'm telling you, Mississippi would not be on the bottom of the rung if I was freaking Oprah Winfrey. Mississippi would not be the worst of the worst if I was Oprah Winfrey. And that's how I feel about it. Capitalism is great, but how do we connect it back to the community? For Black people, getting away is making it, and not coming back and doing nothing for your community doesn't seem to be a part of that.
But there was a book by William Roden, right, called The $40 Million Slave. that he wrote about professional athletes, right? And I did a show a couple years ago on his book. I said, well, what about the $40,000 slave? The $40 million slave comes up in the same education and broke cultural system as the $40 million slave. And most NBA players, NFL players, and those that play, the limited few that play baseball, take care of their families. Most of them always buy their mama a house out the gate. Very few of them ever don't. Mama gets taken care of immediately. They tell mom to quit working right now. You're done. And so, I was an agent for a number of years for NBA players. And my buddy Michael Williams, he played for the Timberwolves. And Michael will kill me for telling it, but I'm going to tell it anyway. When he got his big contract, which back then was 7 years for $29 million. He bought all three of his siblings, or four. He bought him a house, brand new house, and a $250,000 house in Texas is a lot of house. That's your house, bought for, paid for. And every year on January 1st, he would have me as his agent, send all of them a check for $25,000. And he would tell them, you don't ask me for nothing else rest of the year. You can't get nothing. And they take care of their families. And on a percentage basis, the $40 million slave does more than the $40,000 slave. But it's easy to put our finger, our thumbprint on the $40 million person. But if he gives 40 million away or 4 million away, can you give 400 away? And the reason why they don't do it at this level here, or why the $40,000 person doesn't do it, is Brown versus Board of Education. We get a white education in Phoenix, your ABC, NBC, CBS station, right? Just like here, at 6 o'clock when you turn on the weather, they're going to show the news first, weather, then sports. So if you change channels, you can't run from it.
Right.
You're still going to get their message.
You're still going to get their
now,
message.
There will be 3 different networks, right?
Yes.
So why wouldn't ABC just lead with the weather?
I wonder that all the time.
Because they can't let you get away. It's a joint marketing scheme. Every newspaper, whether it's the Minneapolis paper or St. Paul, got the same front page. The local section got the same local section. Dick Gregory taught me years ago. Turn the paper to the back. The stuff they don't want you to see goes on the back.
On the back.
On the front page is.
Ah, yes. Go to the back.
go to the back. So the same people that are from a broken cultural system is where we're at. We're no longer African.
Right.
We don't have those values.
No.
Professor Mahmoud El-Kati, who you know from here, I saw you had him on, so I know he talked the whole 2 hours straight, didn't he? You didn't get nothing in.
I think I did a good job.
Oh, you cut him off? You
have to sometimes.
Oh, you have to. But he said that if you were a true African and you came to a meeting late, right? They wouldn't ask you why you were late. Because in African culture, the village knows if you're not here when you say you're here, you stopped in the village to help somebody. We start looking at our watch. If you both be here at 1 o'clock, like if I had a guy on here at 5 minutes to 4, you've been okay, where he at? Okay, and both be on here at 4. But Africans, when a true African sense and culture know he in the village, he's doing something good. Maybe an elder may have fell down. A child may be in need to be defended. Yeah. So a true African thinks about not being late, but what good is he or she doing in our community?
Absolutely. Wow, I've never heard that before. But it makes perfect sense. It gives you a whole new meaning of CPT time.
There you go.
CP time.
But again, it says, until somebody proves me wrong, Brown versus Board of Education, we lost the right to educate our children. Because not only did they give them a great education, they loved those children. They knew their teacher. Their teacher lived in the community. I remember my mom telling me she went to a school so small that the teacher taught all the grades.
That's a small school, for sure.
She had 55, 60 people in the class in a little town called Dalton, Missouri.
And that was K through 12.
Said she taught them all. And they went to college.
Absolutely.
Graduated.
Absolutely.
But
man. All right. So I definitely want to talk about, because we're talking about gangland and community, and I feel like we've still kept our conversation central to how our community is relating to the young people who just don't seem to have any hope to get out of their condition. And with you being so close to these young people, having your insight on, why they do what they do and how we can help them overcome what they do has been very valuable. And so I want to talk about, because we do have this wonderful Million Man March, right? So we're gonna celebrate some Blackness here, because I don't know how many people remember the Million Man March. I mean, 1995 was a while ago. A lot of us were probably pretty young. So I don't know how many people actually remember the Million Man March, but we're going to talk about celebrating this Blackness, because it was an amazing thing when it happened, right? Even as women who were not allowed to go, or should I say, I won't say that, who were encouraged to stay home and to let our men take their rightful place in our families. But I found the Million Man March pledge. So not only did I have the 10-point Black Panther Party pledge.
Do you have all of it, or just this part here?
Oh, no, I got it all.
Oh, you got it all? Because there's one part that I never did. Yeah. So there's that one sentence at the end that I always hated. The one about little boys and little girls for sexual gratification.
Gosh, I don't remember that one.
Oh, I do. But I remember the day we wrote it, and I remember when we did it at the march. I didn't say it. I would let my guys even say it. We don't deal with that.
Right, because the pledge that you guys made I pledge that from this day forward, I will strive to love my brother as I love myself. I, from this day forward, will strive to improve myself spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economically for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people. I pledge that I will strive to build businesses, build houses, build hospitals, build factories, and enter into international trade for the good of myself, my family, and my people. I pledge that from this day forward, I will never raise my hand with a knife or a gun to beat, cut, or shoot any member of my family or any human being except in self-defense. I pledge from this day forward, I will never abuse my wife by striking her, disrespecting her, for she is the mother of my children and the producer of my future. I pledge that from this day forward, I will never engage in the abuse of children. This is the part that you're talking about. Little boys or girls for sexual gratification, for I will let them grow in peace to be strong men and women for the future of our people. I, for once, appreciate that part, coming from a family or knowing a family where incest was rampant and it went from generation to generation to generation. The father molested the daughters molested their kids molested my kids. Like, I appreciate that part being in there, just because I know what that cycle is like. And lastly, I will never again use the B word to describe any female, but particularly my own Black sister. I pledge from this day forward that I will not poison my body with drugs or that which is destructive to my health and my well-being. I pledge from this day forward I will support Black newspapers, Black radio, Black television. I will support Black artists who clean up their acts to show respect for themselves and respect for their people and respect for the ears of the human family. I will do all of this, so help me God. That was the Million Man March pledge. How do you rate? Give us an A. Was an A to an F. How do you rate how Black men came back and took over our communities and our families? How do you rate the progress since then?
Again, for me, we were set to do all those things in the pledge. Mr. Farrakhan had galvanized Muslims and Christians across the world. He had established what we called LOCs, local organizing committees. There were 300 of them set up across America. But still, Mr. Farrakhan coming back and going to work on that plan that we laid out, he went to Libya and met with Omar Gaddafi, over $5 million, which was intercepted by the United States government. And he lost that opportunity to be the leader of Black America. If he'd have came back from the Million Man March, because we laid out a plan to have Million Man marches and regional ones to galvanize the brothers across America and the sisters. We even talked about, and some people said, why wasn't the Black woman allowed to come? Because it was about making the Black man stand up. Sisters have stood up for generations. It was time for the Black man. That's why it was called the Holy Day of Atonement.
Right.
Or we had shirts that said at one ment. Okay, you break that word. You break that word down. You break that word down. Break down atonement.
I never thought about that. Never.
We're not Muslims. That was only for the Muslims. We only shared that. We only shared that with the Muslims.
Well, hold on one second. Let me play this real quick because I found this. Of course, there are just so many things that you can like. I go down the research rabbit hole all the time. So this is a really 2-minute kind of intro video to the actual day of at 1 minute. Oh, I love that. Okay, this is 2 minutes. I'm going to play this real quick.
Good evening from Washington, where the heart of the Capitol has been filled today with African-American men, a huge crowd, hundreds of thousands, young and old, from all corners of the country, here to participate in ceremonies of celebration, atonement, protest, here to be praised and challenged by Black preachers and politicians, poets and entertainers. At the end of the day, a long, passionate, and confrontational speech from the controversial leader of this march, Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. Farrakhan spoke beyond this audience, directly challenging President Clinton. We begin tonight with NBC's Robert Hager.
They poured off buses from Baltimore, Richmond, Syracuse, Norfolk, and all across the country. By midday, they filled the Washington Mall, from the U.S. Capitol all the way to the Washington Monument, a stunning sight. They heard from scores of Black leaders and from the poet Maya Angelou. And at day's end, they heard from the man who called them here, Louis Farrakhan.
But the real evil in America is not white flesh or black flesh. The real evil in America is the idea that undergirds the setup of the Western world. And that idea is called white supremacy.
Then Farrakhan talked directly to President Clinton.
We are a wounded people, but we are being healed. But President Clinton, America is also wounded.
This is so important today.
And there's hostility now in the great divide between the people. Socially, the fabric of America is being torn apart.
Still relevant.
And it's black against black, black against white, white against white, white against black, yellow against brown, brown against yellow. We are being torn apart. And we can't gloss it over with nice speeches, my dear Mr. President.
Right? I just feel like, let's get rid of that. I just feel like the more I look at our past, at our history,
Right.
it's just repeating itself.
But that's the importance of people knowing history. If you don't understand it, it will repeat itself. And it was not one of Farrakhan's best speeches. It really wasn't. Even the part about he should have stopped with the black on black. Everything should have been about black on black, because we're not doing anything to white people. You very seldom hear about a black man killing a white man. You don't hear that.
No.
White people really should be scared to death of us.
They should be.
If you look at what they've done to us. If you look at what they've done to us. I tell both Somali and Hmong people here, you've only been here 45 years. And you're weak already. Your kids don't speak your language. They don't eat your food. They want McDonald's. They want French fries. The dominant culture is us. Particularly for immigrant communities.
Right.
I'm talking about Somali when they're black, African. Their kids start to become us.
Right.
Young Muslim girls don't wear hijabs anymore, or they wear tight jeans with a long shirt, and they tuck it in when they get away from their parents.
Right.
They put the hijab in the backpack. They cuss, they smoke, they dance. If you remember that one Tyler Perry movie, the family reunion one, and when Maya Angelou talks about the kids gyrating around and girls with no clothes on, that's what she's talking about today.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in Black America. That our culture has been infected with a disease that's crippling our community, because we don't go back to calling adults Mr. So-and-so.
Right.
You never call a child, you never call a grown person by their first name.
Never.
Because we had that respect.
Yep.
For people. And we're raising generations after generations of people who don't respect ourselves.
Right.
Again, back to Elijah Muhammad. When you don't respect yourself, is a symptom of hating yourself.
Right.
So as long as we hate ourselves, we have no chance to overcome this. We have no chance to win this.
Yeah.
In any war, you must know who the enemy is.
And gotta know who the enemy is, or you just shoot yourself.
And we all understand white supremacy.
I'm learning to tune into that a little bit more since my conversation with Mahmoud El-Kati, because we ask let me just say, stop saying we. I ask myself all the time, what is it about Black people that white people just don't like? But then when you stop and look at it, white people don't like anybody that's not white. They don't really care. If you're not white, they don't really like you. And to me, that's the messed up part about this country, right? They wanted to be a melting pot.
No, they don't. They are afraid. They are afraid of the uprising. White people are afraid that if we ever galvanize and come together.
Yes, but that's not the melting pot. The melting pot is not what's going to galvanize and come together. It's those of us who have remained a chopped salad, is what I call it. We're like a Cobb salad, where you can still see the tomatoes and the cucumbers and the lettuce, and you can see everything differently, but all together, it's still very yummy. But for me, I feel like they wanted us to all to be in this melting pot of this white cheese, whatever you want to call it. But there are plenty of people who have not jumped into that melting pot. And so to me, that's the difference. Like, do you want to be a chopped salad or do you want to be a melting pot?
But again, if we don't own our destination,
yes.
How often you just go get on a plane and say, pilot, take me wherever you want to take me? No, you buy a ticket with a destination to where you want to go.
You do.
We don't, as a community, we don't have a destination.
Right.
People ask me all the time, and because, me and Dr. King, I'm his oldest child. I'm his, them other four, we adopted the other four. They're adopted. And that's the whole conversation for another time. But
no, it's so funny because I got some questions about MLK that we got to do, and we're already so long. But go ahead, finish.
But until we understand our destination, and that's the importance of education.
Yeah.
Dr. King would not want to be in America today. People ask me all the time, if Dr. King was here, no, Dr. King, across America, everybody understood who the enemy was.
Yeah.
We wanted the lunch counter. We wanted to integrate. And that's what Malcolm was talking about.
Right.
Malcolm was against integration. That's why him and Martin butted heads, because he wasn't into integration. He knew integration was a failed plan. To live in another man's legal system,
right?
Another man's rules, another man's land. So Malcolm was clear that being an integrationist, when people ask me all the time, I'm a Black nationalist. I'm for Black nationalism. I'm for about the Black community loving, respecting, and taking care. People say, well, you're a civil rights. No, I'm a Black nationalist.
Right.
And until we understand, people say, well, that's militant. Why can it be militant for me to love my people?
I mean, white people are very militant.
Well,
they're patriots, right?
On January 6th last year, they took the White House.
They took the White House.
Supposed to be the most secure house in the world.
Yes. And I don't know. I don't hear a whole lot of people talking badly about these patriots and whatnot. But back in the day, the Million Man March was really controversial, right? It was very divisive at the time. Some people didn't even want to be associated with that particular day, only because of Minister Farrakhan. And again, as I'm learning more about history, the Nation of Islam has a lot of impact on our history. If you don't read it, you don't even understand. So why is there this division between what the Nation of Islam believes or says or or Minister Farrakhan and what the rest of us believe? Like, why was there such a big disconnect in our community over that?
It's the Muslim Christian element that most Black people are not only Baptists, but Southern Baptists. So when you say you're going to follow the teachings of a Muslim man, a Muslim minister, and when he came to St. Paul and spoke at Mount Olive Baptist Church, the board, the trustees of Mount Olivet told Reverend James Battle that if you allow Farrakhan in the pulpit, you will no longer be the pastor of Mount Olivet Baptist Church.
Wow.
This is a true story. The deacon who made that statement died 2 days later. What? So everybody thinks, God took him out. But Farrakhan was allowed to Reverend Battle not only allowed him to sit in the big chair in the church, right? He gave him his office, walked him in, introduced him. And so Black preachers across America, it wasn't until Reverend Ben Chavis, remember him, Benjamin Chavis?
Of course.
Came on board. And then a couple of Jewish rabbis came on board.
Right.
And it was that point that we started to galvanize Black men, because even when we would meet on Saturdays at Harvest Prep, we'd have 500 Black men there. And we had a couple gay guys raise their hand and say, can we go? And Spike told them, brother, you can go. But if you act up, we put you out on the highway. That was Spike's exact word.
That's the kind of stuff that pisses me off, but go ahead.
And the question didn't be asked, but you're a Black man. You have every right to go.
Absolutely.
And so it was about Black America not wanting to follow a Muslim. And not only a Muslim, but a Black Muslim. And for a lot of Black men, particularly in Minnesota and other places, that being under a Black Muslim, because we had guys say, well, man, my wife is white. Brother, you can go, she can't go. So we didn't care if you were gay, Black, if you were a Jew, if you were an atheist, you could go.
Right.
Because it was about a day of atonement.
At 1 mint.
Right. You like that, boy.
I do.
And that's what the day was about. And I tell people all the time, next to the birth of my children, the greatest day of my life. Because the report that day was for rain. So everybody actually had bought ponchos. We had ponchos made. And when we came up out of the tunnel, we parked our buses about 30 miles outside DC and rode the train in. And we came up out of the tunnel. It's like we were in heaven. The sky was, I've never seen a blue sky. And there were already thousands of Black men already on the grounds.
Right.
And the Nation of Islam had probably 30,000 brothers there. I mean, it was secured like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
But you knew. And we came about that tunnel with them black jackets and hoods and berets. They opened up like the Red Sea for us.
Right.
But it was the following of Louis Farrakhan, who some preachers, because of white preachers, felt he was anti-Semite because he wrote that book about slavery and put it on Muslims, right? No, I mean on Jews. And Farrakhan said, I will denounce my report if you denounce the Jewish scholars, because we got our research done at the Jewish Library of Chicago.
Okay.
And from that point on, like I said, when Ben Chavis and Dick Gregory and other Black leaders fell in line and joined the mission, if you're going to be upset with who called it, right?
Right.
Then you're under that umbrella of white supremacy. But different, he's a Black man. He's a black man who called it.
Yeah. I'm just showing. I've got this website.
Oh yes, hey, I'm right there. I'm
yeah.
up.
You already knew where you were standing.
Oh yeah, You no, I'm way up there in the
You're
first.
up here somewhere.
All right, that was that little TV screen you seeing right there.
Yeah.
I'm up about. Oh yeah, right in there. Then me and Spike were actually backstage.
This is like, when you see this, there are only so many pictures of the mall that you can see this many people standing on. And the great thing is most of them are black, or sea of black faces. When you think about, the times that people have come together on the mall. But this this article is in the chat. If you're on Twitch, it's also, of course, in the description on Facebook or YouTube. I added this because these are the words and the experiences of the people who were actually there. And so if you visit this website, you will get an opportunity to read about the actual stories and input from the people who actually
go back. That look like Randy Stanton's flag back there.
Randy Stanton's flag right here.
The flag right there. Ah, dang! It looked like our boy.
Yeah.
That's
well,
funny.
Lord knows, I definitely didn't know who to look for.
Well, it's kind of hard doing that, but that just looked. It was an amazing day.
And that kind of looks like Spike right there. Spike Moss right there in the middle. His younger days.
He looks the same.
But I definitely wanted to share this website with everyone because it was just, to me, it was so meaningful. As I was just scrolling through and reading, there are some videos in here that you can watch. They have audio accounts of people who were there. It's just, to me, this puts the Million Man March in such a different light. Again, I lived through it all and was a little disappointed that women were not allowed or not encouraged to come. But when I tell you, I was at home just crying like a baby because I was like, oh my God, look at all those black men. I'm telling you, I felt like I was in tears the whole time. And I was only 25 years old. It's not like I was old or anything, but it was such an amazing thing to see.
The march was for the black woman and the black family. And my son, who was 5 at the time, was dressed in his march gear, had his little march jacket on. And I said, well, son, you can't go. But I'm part of the men of March. I said, I understand, soldier. You got to stay here and take care of mom. You got to take care of your mom, and you got to stay here. and he grabbed my leg. And so, but it was about the black woman. For us to come back and be better men, better husbands, all that, better fathers, all that. And it was a safety issue. There were snipers all over and police and guards all over. And all of our buses had security plans in. So it went great. It went peacefully, right? But that could have easily, a sick white boy could have done some real damage there. He would never made it out of there, but he could have, you could have done some sick madness to black men. And so once Black America, particularly the preachers and everybody, got over who was leading it, everybody was fine.
Right.
And that's why over 2 million black men, and one of the old security guards at the march, who said he was there for the March on Washington, he said, I know for a fact, this is 10 times bigger than the Corbin meeting they said that came to the March on Washington. And so they went from there was 50,000 to
they probably still haven't landed on the actual amount yet. But that's okay. We don't need them to tell us. We knew what it was when it happened. So I just, am so passionate about transforming our Black neighborhoods into something that when you think about it, the word ghetto doesn't just pop up into your head. And so understanding a little bit better how our communities turn into these neighborhoods that we don't feel safe in. And then what do we have to do to make a difference? I feel like right now we really need to focus on that. And so I had this other video. I definitely want to talk about Martin Luther King with you because I know how important he is to you. And so I found this video called Interview with MLK 11 months before his assassination.
I've seen it before, yeah, but you play it. It's good.
Yeah, so I do. I have a certain spot that I want to play, but in my head, I wanted to ask you these questions. Like, do you, again, trying to just connect where we are today to our past? Do we see improvement, like real improvement? Are we really moving to where we are embracing all of us being able to thrive and not just survive in this world? So it's so funny. Do you think that so these are just questions from the video. What was the philosophy of the civil rights movement? And was nonviolence the best way to go?
Nonviolence at the time was definitely the best way to go, the only way to go. As Dr. King, he didn't want to go that way. But as he said numerous times, we don't have the guns, the training, and the structure to take on white America.
Right.
Without having millions of Americans, Black Americans, murdered. And women and children would have been killed at a high level.
Yeah.
So when he picked up the nonviolent thing from Gandhi, and him being a preacher, and most people forget, he was a great preacher. I tell anybody to go and get some of his sermons.
Yeah.
That the man could really preach. And he gets locked into being a great civil rights leader, and he was. But he was an even better preacher. And so there was no other alternative. Malcolm and the militancy and again, fire hoses on women and children would make anybody want to hurt and kill somebody. But what it did show was the inhumane behavior and conduct of white America. Because remember, this is the same white America that in a civil war killed its own brothers and sisters over the right to keep a slave. Because they didn't want to do no work. That they love having free labor.
Right.
They love having free labor. And to be as barbaric and inhumane. And I tell people all the time, you think about a man being married to his wife, and she'd have to go up and sleep with the slave owner and be pregnant for 9 months and never know whose baby it is until it's born. And then many times the husband was either sold right away.
I was going to say, was he even still around?
Either sold or to show power, put between two horses and pulled in. So white people are lucky that we are a humane people. We are a spiritual, religious people. And then we need to get back to that. We need to revise our love for each other because they made us hate. They put us to a point where we have no respect or love for each other.
Right.
And that's why it's easy for us to treat us like we're a bug, step on me and keep going. And as I tell people, even with who talk to me all the time about doing restorative justice circles, I can do it for a robbery. You hit my car.
Right.
But there is no restorative because it's like a chair. You can only restore it so many times.
Right.
Then they tell you the frame is broke down. You got to throw it away. So I don't believe you can restore There's nothing somebody killed one of my children. Well, I sit in a room with them. I want to know why you did it.
Yeah.
But after that, no, I'm done.
Right.
And most people say, well, Tyrone, that's wrong. No. When you restore something, restore means you can repair it.
Right.
And you can't repair that for me. And
Yeah.
other people feel, and even when we have restorative circles now for a homicide, I don't even participate in it.
Right.
I don't even want to bring my bad karma.
Right.
No, I'm just saying, in the room, because any guy, if he's going to reduce his sentence, will meet with anybody. I'm sorry, I didn't even do it. I was high on drugs and it happened.
Right.
But you can't bring back. No. You can't bring back somebody's loved one.
Right.
So it goes back to us. But if we stop hating each other, and Martin today, if he was alive, couldn't do anything with us. There's no common thread, no common thing that would make people listen. In the 50s, in the 60s, and even early 70s, the Voting Rights Act didn't pass to 68. It was Martin's death forced, and people always say, who's the greatest president in history, right?
Right.
It's Lyndon Baines Johnson. He signed all the major legislation.
He did.
That got us to where we're at. The Civil Rights Act after John F. Kennedy, his assassination, all that was signed by him.
Yep.
And so Martin would not like this situation we're in. We should have been way advanced.
Yes, I agree.
Of this. And we're this America today is just as violent, just as racist as it was in 53, 63, 73, 83.
Yes.
And I have people ask the question all the time. Because I never stand for the Star Spangled Banner. And
I don't either.
I feel I have no right to stand for it. They say, well, why? In 1776, on July 4th, y'all were still raping, murdering my people. 100 years later, you were still doing it. We weren't much better in 1976. Wasn't that great?
It wasn't that great.
But definitely 1776, 1876, no. And I said, white people, that's your flag. I understand why y'all stand up and y'all cheer and y'all cry. Y'all should.
They should. And if you listen to the rest of that song, you would know you should not be standing up for that if you are not white. Like, listen to all of the song, and then you wonder why we kneel. You wonder why we, like, there's no connection to that piece of material to me, because that's what it is. I'm not giving no kind of reverence to no piece of material. That's my thing. It's just a piece of material.
And tons of black folks stand up for it. Tons of black folks love it.
It's beat upside our head, Tyrone. What do we do?
And my dad and my uncles all served in the military, Marine Corps, Navy, you name it. And my dad, I said, Dad, if you want to do it, you serve this country. But you came back, you're still a boy. You still got to say Mr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
And I remember coming home, we went to a store and he said to the man, Mr. Bob, I said, Bob, Bob, get my daddy some shoes. No, but boy, stop. Daddy, no, we ain't doing it.
Ain't doing that. No, we're not. We're past that now.
When I leave, and the white boy was like, "Oh, this is one of them crazy ones." I'd be glad to get the shoes, sir. Okay, Bob, get going.
Absolutely. And I know you were saying that restorative justice is just it's something that doesn't ring true to your spirit. I feel the same way about, reparations is not going to repair slavery. Like there's
If you give us dirt, if you give us dirt and no check, because here's what's going to happen. If they give all of us $100 grand each, right? $100,000 each, we'd be broke by Saturday.
a lot of us would be. 100,000 is nothing in this day.
Don't get a nice car.
That's nothing.
Gonna get a couple of real big TVs. I'm talking about the 100. Couple cases of Hennessy.
That's not enough. 100,000. I think $1 million a household. I think $1 million per household, per adult, living adult. $1 million bucks. I wouldn't settle for anything less than that.
Then some people say, "Well, it's my money. Let me blow it." But at least blow it. A condition has to be spent black.
Or
that you could not spend a penny white.
And you gotta pay your debts first.
Wherever those are. What I'm saying is that you have to buy from a black car dealer. You have to buy from black realtors. So everything, all your money has to be recycled.
You better do your research.
The Jewish dollar goes 44 times through their community before it leaves. Yeah. Ours 1.5.
Is it that much? Because I even think about, all of these black businesses that we want to support now. Like I found this one company that does some really dope black, some clothes and stuff. But where are you getting that stuff made at? Are you getting your stuff made in China? Or have you started going over to Africa and doing business with them? Like, I want to know those. I need to know the particulars, because just because you're a black owned business doesn't mean that you're doing it for anyone else but yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still taking the money out of the community anyway. And I don't know where you live. You probably are not living on the north side.
And that would be my issue with it. And then we just have St. Paul just created a reparations commission.
Did they?
Yeah.
Really?
To look at how they're going to do reparations of some form, shape.
So is this now becoming a city by city thing?
Yeah.
Because, California's already, the whole state of California is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So is this now just going to be a state, right? So not all the black people are going to start moving to California so we can get our 40 acres and a mule, or what? Like, I don't even understand how that's going to happen. I feel like, if nothing else, because to me, it was the red hot summer. So many other things, so many other times in history, right? Where we have just been told and forcibly told, this is your place and don't you try to come out of it. Whether it's Black Wall Street or any other cities that white people looked at and were like, we don't really appreciate y'all niggers over there doing better than us, so we're going to make sure that you don't. Like, understanding that's the history that has made, that was so easy for Reagan and Clinton to then say, yeah, as a matter of fact, we're gonna war on drugs in your neighborhood. We're gonna put all the drugs in your neighborhood so we can war in your neighborhood. Oh, and by the way, all you welfare queens, we're gonna make sure that y'all take your asses to work too. Like, when you think about everything, even up to the Clinton years.
That's right.
That has been done. Like, sometimes I think it's too late.
Give me your question. I got about 12 minutes, sis.
No, we're getting ready to get out of here. So, let me just play this part, because I do want to play this part. I want to play this. All right. Martin Luther King. Oh, and this is actually good timing, because this is exactly what I have him talking about. So here we go.
My man. Hi, Daddy.
Slavery was justified morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, everything else. And it seems to me that white America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma. And that can never be overlooked. So I think these things are absolutely necessary. The other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
Apart from
There we go. That was it, right?
Hey, here's a great point, and it's so true. It's easy to tell somebody to pull up their bootstraps, but they ain't got no boots. It's like that old saying that my grandma used to say, which I didn't understand. You feel sorry for the kid with no shoes. How about the one with no feet?
Shay.
And I said, damn, grandma, he don't need no shoes. He ain't got no. She said, well, think about who you're feeling sorry for. The barefooted kid who can still run, who can still play,
Right.
who will someday get some shoes, or the one born with no feet.
Wow. Yeah. Jeez. There you have it.
Right.
Oh my goodness. We went a half an hour over.
We went what?
We went a half an hour over and still did not
we
talk
went
about
over.
a half an hour.
4 to 6.
No, it's an hour.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
I'll send you my bill.
I'm sure you will.
No, I enjoyed it. I'd go longer, but
I know. We all have things to do, and I didn't get through half the stuff that I wanted to for Martin Luther King. So that just means you'll have to come back, and we'll just have to have a MLK Day.
I would, as we say in Islam, inshallah, God willing, I would not guarantee tomorrow, but I would love that conversation.
Awesome. So I want to invite you to come back.
Oh, I'd love to.
On May 20th. I have this specifically. I'm putting together a panel because, May 25th is the day that George Floyd died.
And actually, it's funny that, what is that, Malcolm's birthday or when Malcolm died? What's May 19th? May 19th.
May 19th is, hold on, because I probably have it.
Something happened with Malcolm. It's Malcolm's birthday, right?
Yep, May 19th, Malcolm X's birthday.
Because we have Us Stop Killing Us conference that weekend.
Really?
Right.
In Minnesota?
Right.
All right.
And we did perfectly on Malcolm's it's the 19th, 20th, and 19th and 20th.
All right. That is National Police Week.
I don't care about that.
Well, I think it's a opportunity to do some other things around that conversation. But again, thank you.
You know what?
So that weekend, so it's the next weekend. What did you say on the 20th? You're doing something?
19th and 20th, we're doing a Us Stop Killing Us 2-day conference.
Okay.
But you know what? If I could get Black people to spend 25% of their time talking about us killing us, that we put towards Derek Chauvin and his senseless murder of George Floyd, or those 5 brothers in Memphis, or Baez, who killed and executed Brother Philando Castillo. Because all those murders nationwide are horrific. But if we look at the amount of murders of us, and not just the murders themselves, but how they impact juries. You know, most young Black kids are considered guilty before they even get there because of the behavior and conduct of other Black children. You know, and 94% of our kids, 96% are doing good. But that 4%, that's the gangbangers and those that are doing senseless things. And again, take those same children that came out of their mother's womb and give them a chance. You got a different child. So people, I just tell people, slow down before you decide to write the child off, no matter what he did.
Right.
Did he ever have a chance?
Right.
Did he ever have a chance?
Did he ever have a chance?
You know, and so many of our kids, and I tell people all the time, my son's brilliant, right? But his temper is that long. So put him in a different culture and environment.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Right.
You know, you raised in a situation that you ain't never had a job. But you did well in school, you did well in college, you went to Tuskegee, you did well, you did work well with Microsoft, but put you in that culture and environment and give me one of those babies.
Right.
And you got a whole different deal.
Right.
So just again, thank you. Appreciate it greatly for the opportunity.
Thank you too. I appreciate you. And we'll talk again. Like I said, we're going to have to figure out how to get you on the panel on the 20th, even though you're doing something else. We'll talk about that. We'll get that going later. But again, thank you. And just real quick, y'all, next week, actually it's this week, Dr. Carly-Ann Dawson is coming back, but it's all about finances this time, you guys. We're actually going to start something really, really, really special. So please join me this Saturday, February 25th. Dr. Carly-Ann is going to be back talking finances. Thank you. Tyrone, I really appreciate you and everyone who joined us and stuck in there with us for this 3-hour marathon. Wow. Thank you. I think this is a record for sure.
All right, sis. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.